What's up, Zillionaires? I'm here at the 50 Diner on Boston Post Road in Willimantic. We're here for the Thread City Burger Challenge. I have a very special guest with me, a local resident and Marine Corps veteran, Victor Cardona. What's up, Vic?
How you doing?
So, thanks for sharing, for coming and being able to share with me today and stuff. I wanted to be able to just get the community to know you, for those people in the community that don't know you, and for those that know you and remember you and your legacy here in Willimantic. Many years a town resident, local here, very familiar, a lot of people with you and stuff. I want to start off first with, in your mind, what was it like growing up in Willimantic?
In Willimantic, growing up was fun. It wasn't like today's day and age where all the kids sit at home. There was always something to do. There was always kids walking around either with inner tubes or fishing poles, going to one of the rivers, or had a baseball bat and a glove, walking to one of the local fields and playing games and things of that nature. There was never like a lack of things to do or lack of people to see walking around the whole time.
Yeah, and that means that, it says a lot about our resilience and our creativity with our minds and stuff. Just a different breed of kids and stuff. And even I want to go into something personal and stuff, because I remember us playing as a kid and stuff. You were athletic, man. Yeah. You was right there with us. We played stickball, basketball, anything you got your hands on. You would
football in the snow. It didn't matter.
Yeah, man, I remember those times. Those were great times and stuff. I also remember on a more personal level, and rest in peace, your brother Michael and stuff. And we recently lost him and stuff. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about what's it like to have a younger brother with a disability. And I know that, that at times I can tell you were troubled by it or worried for him, but at the same time you were able to love him and let him have his life. So I think it was inspiring.
Well, Marco is his real name, but everybody called him Michael because when people asked my mom, she didn't know English, they asked what his name was, and she'd say Marco, and they say Michael, and she said Marco, they say Michael, so she said, screw it, I guess. Michael it is. So, but Michael's actually 3 years older than me.
Wow, I thought he was your younger brother.
I'm the youngest boy.
Whoa.
He was 3 years older than me, but dealing with him was kind of hard because I always had to fight for him. Actually, that's probably how I learned how to fight, was defending him.
Yeah.
Because they would be calling him Crazy Michael, or, and bugging him and things of that nature, and I always had to jump in.
Yeah.
Ever since I was going to SUNY school.
Yeah. You put in the work.
Fighting, anytime they messed with him, I would stick up for him and fight. And, he had the mind of a 5-year-old, and it stayed that way, throughout his 60 years. Wow. He passed away when he was I believe 60, on my birthday actually.
Yeah.
And, but it was. I treated him like a regular brother, any other brother. Like me and him fought over toys, and he'd get mad, he'd break them, just boy stuff. Wanted to follow me into the woods when I was out fishing or just doing stuff. Catching birds, picking up snakes, and things of that nature.
And those are blessings, right? When you're young and running around, you're thinking, I gotta follow Michael. I got Michael go back home or whatever. But you look at it now, it was like a blessing. You can have every moment back. You probably have it. One of the cool things about Michael with me was just remembering him reminds my heart, to be compassionate. Michael was loved by the community. He was loved, man.
He walked up and down. You'd see him in West Ave where we lived, and then you'd see him in the Heights. And if there was a construction site, he'd sit there and watch them for hours. One thing he loved to do was watching construction guys working with their trucks and stuff.
What do you think of everything with your whole experience with Michael, looking back and after he's gone and stuff, what do you think was the message overall he was giving you, and what did he bless the family with?
I think with innocence, he to me was like a little boy, and for him to get cancer and die of it, I always thought like, okay, how come he, who's never smoked,
Nothing.
never drank, never did anything, develops cancer? And at the time, I was like, I didn't have cancer, now I do, but I was like, me who's done a ton of things and ran across, been around the world twice,
Yeah.
and other people that just do all kind of crazy things, drink, smoke, and drugs, and they don't get nothing. And I was wondering, why he or how he had to deal with that. And I never questioned God, because I'm not one to question, our Lord and Savior. I never said why us or why me. I just questioned myself in my head, which is the thing. But I got innocence. He was so innocent.
And I guess and that's the thing that's powerful, right? Because you think in this day and age, like, innocence is like valued. You don't see it. Like, a lot of kids nowadays, their innocence gets taken, digital media in your hand, and boom, at 5, 6 years old, and boom, it can shatter your innocence.
I think
Michael stayed innocent, which is beautiful.
I think innocence is replaced today with ignorance, because a lot of the youth is manipulated by, like you said, social media and things of that nature. They never have, or they don't, or rarely do get that world experience, that life experience, to going out and busting your head, things of that nature. A lot of children nowadays are coddled.
Yeah.
Don't scrape your
It's
leg,
like,
don't do this.
it's like we grew up in an era where it was applied learning.
Yeah.
And now
Absolutely.
it's digital learning, so it's more like programming for them.
Right.
So I've always had this theory that with this, digital programming, yes, the mind will be enlightened to the point where the programming becomes the will in the direction you go. So I hope that doesn't happen. That's why Zillionaire is always busy trying to get people to disconnect and get out into nature and stuff, go fishing, get your kids out there and stuff like that. But even more, we talked about Marco and his passing away of cancer and stuff. I want to talk a little bit about yours, because your story is incredible. And this is like what I really want to get to everybody, because there's so many people that struggle with cancer, and myself, I struggle with I have end-stage terminal illness, kidney failure, and I kind of went through a process with you when you were going through it, and I want to talk about what it was like finding out. Two, how did you manage to get through that? What it was like to step into the Veterans Coffee House for support, and what came from that, and then there's some other stuff, but that's kind of a lot. Let's go from there.
Well, when I first learned about my cancer, it was a kind of a shock. It was surreal, because they told me, and I didn't break down and I'm gonna die and things of that nature, because they did tell me you have 13 months to live. But the hard part was like the first 4 months, because your mind is so tortured. For those who don't know, you wake up every morning, and as soon as your eyes pop open, the first thing that comes into your head is, I'm gonna die. How can I stop this? They told me I'm gonna die every single day, and it's a constant thing that's there, and it's a
What helped you through that when you were going through that?
Just I started to focus on myself. My wife Lillian helped me, because she's always been there, taking me to appointments and things of that nature, and she's constantly been there through chemo and all that stuff. But I kind of focused on myself and learning the cancer and learning what I could do to maybe better myself.
You've always been like that since little. You were always smart, very competitive. But not only am I athletic, but I'm gonna teach you I'm smarter than you too.
That's one story I told you. One of the teachers in high school told me I got the highest grade in the English class that one test, and he said how he told the class how is it that he's getting higher grades than you guys? It's not even his language, you know. And I think the Puerto Rican street mentality would have been like, screw you, you're a racist. I'm not gonna do anything now. Screw that. I don't want to be in this class. I don't think that way. I think like, okay,
We get smarter.
I'm gonna make sure I pass every class and I get the highest grade just to piss you off. So I try to do better in that sense.
And so you applied the same thing to the situation you were in with learning the cancer?
I did it with the cancer. I'm gonna try and figure out how to beat it. And they say my cancer is aggressive. That I had 13
Where was it,
months.
for those that don't know?
I had lung cancer, small cell lung cancer, and like you say, mate, our generation is built differently. They kept telling me I had asthma, so take this pump, take that pump, take steroids.
I remember you up on the telephone poles working with that stuff.
I was a lineman, so I'm climbing poles and getting tired and fatigued, and the guys would tell, "Oh, Vic, you're just getting old."
Yeah.
So mentally, I started to believe him.
Yeah.
That maybe it's hang up my jacket, my coat, my climbing boots, whatever. And come to find out, I was working with a collapsed lung for like 10 months.
That's tough.
And,
That's toughness right there.
that's when I went to, finally my wife told me, you need to go to a doctor and tell them they need to check something further because nothing's working. So they sent me to the hospital. I go in and get an x-ray. They gave me more asthma medicine and stuff, and I was picking it up like 3 hours later. My doctor called me. Today with technology, you get everything at your hands. So I get my chart and I look at my lungs. And I think I'm a relatively smart dude, and I look at my left lung and I'm like, that doesn't look right. So I asked the doctor as he called me as I was picking up the medicine. He says, I said, just one thing, because he wanted me to go back to the ER and get a CAT